Limitless Mind Audiobooks.
Introduction. Growth requires courage. Most people aren't living small because they lack talent. They aren't stuck because they don't have potential. They're stuck because of fear. Fear is the silent prison that traps millions of people every single day. It doesn't need bars or chains. It just needs doubt, hesitation, and the voice in your head that whispers, "What if I fail? What if they laugh? What if I'm not good enough?" And so people play it safe. They stay in jobs they hate. They hold back ideas that could change their lives. They shrink themselves in relationships, in business, in dreams, not because they can't do more, but because fear convinces them to settle for less. Here's the truth. Fear will never disappear. It doesn't matter how strong you are, how much you achieve, or how prepared you think you'll be. Fear always shows up at the door of growth. The difference between people who live an average life and people who live a limitless life isn't that one group has no fear. It's that one group moves forward despite it. Fear isn't your enemy. Fear is a signal. It's proof that you're standing at the edge of your comfort zone. And growth never happens inside the comfort zone. Growth only happens when you step out into the unknown, into the challenge, into the risk of failure. Think about the moments in your life when you grew the most. Maybe it was starting a new job, moving to a new city, or saying yes to something you weren't sure you could handle. At first, you felt scared, nervous, doubtful. But when you pushed through that fear, you expanded. You proved to yourself that you were stronger than you thought. That's what fearless growth is all about. Not erasing fear, not pretending it doesn't exist, but learning how to use it as fuel. Fear is energy. Fear is adrenaline. Fear is the reminder that you're doing something that matters. In this audiobook, we're going to explore how to reframe fear, how to turn it into power, and how to build habits of courage that make growth automatic. You'll learn why comfort zones are actually danger zones, why failure is not fatal but essential, and how daily acts of courage compound into unstoppable momentum. You'll discover how to stop holding yourself back and start moving forward. Not someday, not when you feel ready, but right now. Because waiting for fear to vanish is a trap. It never goes away. The secret is to act while it's still there. Fearless growth isn't about being fearless. It's about fearing less. It's about building a life where your courage speaks louder than your doubts. By the time you finish this audiobook, you'll see fear differently. You'll stop treating it as a wall and start treating it as a compass. Because wherever fear shows up, that's exactly where growth is waiting. This is your invitation to step into the unknown, to break the chains of fear, to unlock the potential you've been holding back. Because fear will always whisper, but your courage has the power to roar. Welcome to Fearless Growth. Chapter 1. The Silent Prison of Fear. Fear rarely shows up announcing itself. It doesn't walk into your mind shouting, "I'm fear, and I'm here to stop you." No, fear is much smarter than that. Fear disguises itself. It whispers things like, "I don't have enough time. I'll start when I feel ready. I need to do more research first. Maybe this just isn't the right moment." Those aren't reasons. They're excuses. And almost every excuse is just fear wearing a mask. Fear's greatest trick is convincing you that it's keeping you safe, when really it's keeping you small. Think about it. How many times have you had an idea, a dream, or even a simple opportunity that excited you? And then, almost immediately, the excuses appeared. What if I fail? What if I look stupid? What if they say no? That's fear doing its job, whispering in your ear, keeping you from stepping into uncertainty. And here's the cost. Every time you listen, every time you obey those whispers, fear wins. Your world shrinks a little bit smaller. Your potential gets locked away a little bit tighter. Before long, you've built a prison you can't see. A prison made of doubt, hesitation, and regret. This is the silent prison of fear. It doesn't need chains or guards. It doesn't need bars or locked doors. It simply convinces you to stay exactly where you are, doing exactly what you've always done. Safe, predictable, comfortable. And slowly, it robs you of the future you could have had. The tragedy is that most people never realize they're locked inside. They think they're making practical choices. They think they're just being realistic. But what they're really being is controlled by the voice of fear that tells them it's better not to try, better not to risk, better not to hope for more. But here's the truth. Fear is a liar. And the longer you listen, the stronger it becomes. Fear feeds on avoidance. Every time you back away, every time you delay, every time you choose comfort instead of courage, fear grows bigger in your mind. What started as a whisper becomes a roar. The longer you hide from it, the more power it has over you. But when you face it, something shifts. When you call fear out for what it is, a mask, a trick, a liar, you begin to take your power back. Because fear is not proof that you're weak. It's proof that you're standing at the edge of your comfort zone. And that's exactly where growth begins. So the question is not whether you feel fear. Everyone does. The question is whether you'll let it decide for you. You can let fear build you a prison, or you can expose it for the illusion it really is. Because the truth is simple. Your fear isn't protecting you. It's holding you hostage, and the only way out is to move through it. Chapter 2. Comfort zone equals danger zone. At first, the comfort zone feels like a gift. It feels safe, predictable, easy. You know what to expect. You know the routines, the outcomes, the people, the patterns. Nothing surprises you, nothing challenges you, nothing threatens you. And that's exactly the problem. The comfort zone is not safety. The comfort zone is decay. Slowly, quietly, without you even realizing it, your potential begins to rot inside of it. The greatest danger isn't failure. The greatest danger is staying comfortable, because while you're standing still, the world is moving on. While you're clinging to what feels familiar, your opportunities are slipping away. Think of the comfort zone like quicksand. At first, it feels solid. It feels reliable. But the longer you stand still, the deeper you sink. Before you know it, you're trapped. Every success story you've ever admired came from someone stepping out of comfort. The entrepreneur who risked starting the business. The athlete who trained harder than anyone else. The artist who shared their work, knowing it might be rejected. None of them found greatness by staying safe. They found it by daring to leave comfort behind. Comfort whispers, "Stay here." It's easy. It's familiar. You can always try later, but later never comes. Later becomes never. And comfort wins. Fearless growth requires you to see the comfort zone for what it really is, a cage with invisible walls that keep you from the life you're capable of living. Stepping out doesn't mean you'll feel ready. In fact, you'll almost never feel ready. That's the point. Growth isn't about feeling ready. It's about acting anyway. The truth is, the comfort zone and the growth zone cannot exist in the same place. You cannot cling to safety and expect to expand. You cannot demand certainty and expect to evolve. Growth lives where fear lives, just beyond what you know, just outside of what feels easy. So if you want fearless growth, you have to make a decision. Do you want to feel safe for a moment, or do you want to live free for a lifetime? Because every time you step outside of your comfort zone, you step into your future. Chapter 3. Rewiring fear into fuel. Most people believe fear is a stop sign. The heart races, the hands sweat, the mind races with doubts. And they think it means turn back. But what if those signals meant the opposite? What if fear was not a warning to retreat, but an invitation to move forward? The truth is, fear is not your enemy. Fear is energy. Think about it. When you're scared, your body comes alive. Adrenaline surges, your focus sharpens, your senses heighten. It's your biology preparing you to perform. The problem isn't fear itself, it's how you interpret it. Most people feel that energy and label it as danger, but those same sensations can be labeled as excitement, readiness, power. The stage actor pacing backstage before the curtain rises feels it. The entrepreneur before pitching their idea feels it. The athlete on the starting line feels it. Fear isn't telling them to stop. It's telling them they're alive, that something important is about to happen. Fear will always ask, what if I fail? But you can train yourself to ask a better question. What if I succeed? What if the nerves you're feeling are proof that you're on the edge of growth? What if the fear you feel is actually the compass pointing you exactly where you need to go? Because here's the paradox. The things you fear most are usually the things that will transform you the most. Speaking up, trying, starting, risking. These are the thresholds of growth, and fear always guards the door. Rewiring fear into fuel is about choosing a new interpretation. It's deciding that the pounding heart, the nervous sweat, the shaky hands aren't weakness, they're power. They're proof that you're stretching, expanding, moving into new territory. Every time you reframe fear and step forward anyway, you retrain your brain. You show yourself that fear isn't fatal, that the story it told you was an illusion, and with every repetition, fear loses a little more of its control. So the next time fear rises up, don't run. Don't fight it. Use it, breathe it in, and then pour it into action. Because fear is not a stop sign. Fear is fuel. Chapter 4, The Courage Habit. Courage is often misunderstood. We imagine it as a dramatic, once-in-a-lifetime act, running into a burning building, jumping in front of danger, making a heroic sacrifice. But courage isn't always loud. Courage isn't always dramatic. Courage is often quiet. It's a whisper that says, do it anyway. And just like fear grows stronger the more you obey it, courage grows stronger the more you practice it. Think of courage like a muscle. Every time you use it, it gets stronger. Every time you avoid using it, it weakens. And just like you don't build strength with one trip to the gym, you don't build courage with one act of bravery. You build it rep by rep, day by day. This is what I call the courage habit. The courage habit means training yourself to lean into fear in small, deliberate ways. It's not about climbing Mount Everest tomorrow. It's about choosing to speak up in a meeting when you usually stay silent. It's about saying yes to an opportunity even when you don't feel ready. It's about having the hard conversation instead of avoiding it. Every time you take one of these small actions, you're proving to yourself that fear doesn't control you, and once you start stacking these small wins, they build into unstoppable momentum. Psychologists call this exposure. The more often you expose yourself to the things that make you nervous, the less power those things hold. What once terrified you becomes normal. What once paralyzed you becomes a daily routine. The courage habit also rewires identity. After enough reps, you stop saying, I wish I was brave. You start saying, I am the kind of person who acts despite fear. And that identity becomes unshakable. Fear doesn't vanish, but courage becomes automatic. The truth is, most people are waiting for confidence to appear before they act. But that's not how it works. Action comes first. Confidence comes after. The courage habit is about acting while afraid. And letting confidence catch up later. So don't wait for the perfect moment. Don't wait for fear to leave. Build the habit. Do the reps. Take the small risks today so you can take the bigger ones tomorrow. Because courage isn't a one-time choice, it's a lifestyle. And when you live it daily, fear never has the final word. Chapter 5. Fail forward. Failure has been given a reputation it doesn't deserve. Most people treat it like the final chapter, the end of the story, the proof that they weren't good enough. But failure is not fatal. Failure is feedback. Every person you admire, every success story you've ever studied is built on a mountain of failures. Edison failed thousands of times before perfecting the light bulb. Oprah was fired from her first TV job. J.K. Rowling was rejected by a dozen publishers before one finally said yes. If they had taken failure as a dead end, we wouldn't know their names today. The difference between those who stay stuck and those who succeed isn't that the successful avoid failure. It's that they learn to use it. When you fail, you're handed a choice. You can accept it as proof that you weren't meant to succeed, or you can mine it for the lesson. Every failure carries information. Every setback reveals something you can adjust, improve, or refine. This is what it means to fail forward. Instead of falling down and staying down, you fall forward into progress. You let the failure push you, teach you, and guide you toward a better version of yourself. Failure is not evidence that you're weak. It's evidence that you're trying. The only people who don't fail are the ones who never attempt anything worth doing. Playing it safe doesn't protect you. It just guarantees you'll stay exactly where you are. So shift the way you see it. Failure is not the opposite of success. Failure is part of success. It's one of the essential building blocks. And here's the secret. The faster you're willing to fail, the faster you'll grow. If you stop fearing failure and start embracing it, you'll move quicker, you'll learn faster, and you'll outpace the people still sitting on the sidelines waiting for the perfect plan. Failing forward doesn't mean enjoying mistakes. It means extracting their value. It means asking after every setback. What did this teach me? How can I grow from it? What's the next step? Because fearless growth isn't about avoiding failure. It's about turning failure into fuel. The road to success is paved with failures. Each one is a stepping stone, if you keep moving. Chapter 6, Fearless Growth in Action. Up until now, we've explored fear, courage, and failure in theory. But fearless growth isn't just an idea, it's a practice. It shows up in the choices you make every single day. Fearless growth means asking for the promotion, even if you think you might hear no. It means starting the business, even if the odds aren't guaranteed. It means speaking your truth in a relationship, even if you risk rejection. It means applying for the opportunity, creating the project, or taking the leap, not because the fear is gone, but because the future matters more than the fear. Most people live their lives as if their goal is to avoid discomfort, but growth demands discomfort. It demands risk. It demands that you choose courage when it's easier to choose comfort. Think about the areas of your life right now where fear is holding you back. Maybe it's your career. Maybe it's your health. Maybe it's your relationships. Ask yourself, if I weren't afraid, what would I do differently? That answers the doorway to fearless growth. Because the truth is, you don't need more time. You don't need more certainty. You don't need permission. You need to move while afraid. You need to act while uncertain. You need to trust that growth lives on the other side of fear, and that action will always teach you more than hesitation. Fearless growth is not about never doubting yourself. It's about not letting doubt decide for you. Fearless growth is not about never falling. It's about standing back up and taking another step. Fearless growth is not about waiting until you feel ready. It's about realizing that ready is a lie, and movement creates readiness. So take a look at your life and choose one area where fear has been in control. Then take one step, however small, in the direction of growth. Have the conversation. Send the application. Book the class. Launch the idea. Whatever it is, prove to yourself that fear doesn't own you. Because fearless growth is built one act of courage at a time, and when you string those acts together, you create a life defined not by what held you back, but by what pushed you forward. Chapter 7, Becoming Unstoppable. There comes a moment when courage stops being something you do and becomes something you are. At first, every act of courage feels forced. Your hands shake, your voice trembles, your mind screams with doubt. But you do it anyway. Then you do it again, and again. Over time, something begins to shift. Fear is still there, but it no longer decides for you. Doubt still whispers, but its voice grows weaker. What was once terrifying becomes normal. What was once impossible becomes routine. This is the point where courage becomes identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who tries to be brave, and you start seeing yourself as someone who moves forward no matter what. You stop waiting for the perfect conditions and you start creating them. You stop asking for permission and you start giving yourself permission. And that identity, the identity of someone who chooses growth over fear, makes you unstoppable. Unstoppable doesn't mean you never fall. It doesn't mean you never struggle. It doesn't mean you never hear the voice of fear again. It means you've built the resilience to keep moving regardless. It means fear no longer paralyzes you because you've proven again and again that it has no power to stop you. Unstoppable means turning obstacles into fuel. It means viewing setbacks as stepping stones. It means living with such alignment, such conviction, that no amount of doubt can derail your direction. When you become unstoppable, fear transforms from an enemy into a compass. You see it and think, that's where I need to go. Fear no longer blocks the path. It points to it. And that is the heart of fearless growth. It's not about waiting for a day when fear vanishes. It's about becoming the kind of person who grows anyway, who moves anyway, who lives fully in spite of it. Because once courage becomes your identity, nothing can hold you back. Not doubt, not failure, not rejection, not even fear itself. You don't just grow, you grow fearlessly, and that makes you unstoppable. Conclusion: fearless equals free. Fear is not the enemy. Fear will never disappear. But fear does not have to decide the direction of your life. In this audiobook, you've seen how fear disguises itself as excuses. You've seen how comfort zones are not safety nets, but cages. You've learned that fear is energy, waiting to be rewired into fuel. You've discovered the courage habit, the daily practice of leaning into fear until courage becomes automatic. You've seen that failure is not final, but feedback. And you've explored how fearless growth looks in action, in careers, relationships, and dreams. But the real transformation comes when courage becomes identity. When you stop saying, "I wish I was brave," and start saying, "I am the kind of person who moves forward anyway." That is the moment you become unstoppable. Fearless growth is not about erasing fear. It's about carrying it with you, refusing to let it control you, and using it as a compass that points to where growth is waiting. And when you live this way, something incredible happens. You become free. Free from the chains of doubt. Free from the regret of what if. Free to live the life you were meant to live, not the life fear tricked you into settling for. So don't wait for fear to vanish. It won't. Don't wait to feel ready. You won't. Move anyway. Act anyway. Grow anyway. Because fearless growth isn't about living without fear. It's about living free in spite of it. And that freedom is waiting for you on the other side of fear.